look, I've got a big one and I've got glitter all over it already. Big mould. It was not an expensive one. It was from AliExpress, and it's one of these ones that's got like a frame around it. It's also got a centre. You see all these little lips? You just drop those down into the recesses. So that's going to make a lovely big plant pot. Those of you who have found my other channel, one of my other channels, you will know that I do like houseplants. I've got loads of houseplants. I've got terrariums and all sorts, and I do want some plant pots. Because my baby Thai constellation Monstera, and my Monstera alba, actually, they're only little baby ones, but they could really do now with a better sized pot. So I'm going to put them into just a plastic pot and pop them into a decorative pot and make two, obviously, so they've got one each. They will be resin because obviously water might end up sitting in these, because I like to, with my Monsteras, I like to give them a real good soaking till water comes out the bottom, and then I'll let them almost dry. I've got a water meter thing, and then I'll water again once they're pretty much dry. So yeah, the chances are water's going to be sitting in this. So whilst it will make an awesome pot mould for something like Eco Pour, I'll probably do some of those later for other purposes, then this one really needs to be resin, well, these two. However, if you wanted to do one that's got a hole in the bottom, they do actually send you this little bung, look, little silicone bung, which you, I presume, put there, and it will mean that you end up with a hole in the bottom of your mould, which is great, isn't it? So you could use them like that too, which would be great if you're going to use it as an outdoor one. Although resin outdoors, not always the best of ideas, but it can work. Now, the colours for my lounge currently are like a very pale grey, white, small amount of black, mostly around the nano tanks, because my nano fish tanks, some of their lighting gear is black, and red. So we're going to be, I think, going for mostly the white and grey initially for this one. And then maybe the next one we'll do it grey and bits of red. I don't know. We'll see. Let's get this first one done anyway, and we'll move on to the second idea. So I am going to go for a deep cast resin. Because although this is deep, it's not overly thick. I might get away with my normal Apex high gloss, but I am going to go for the deep cast to be on the safe side, I think. That does mean it will take an awful lot longer to cure, but that's okay. If I leave it a couple of days, we'll probably be there. And this is a 2-to-1, so unlike me, over in the corner of your screen, you can probably see that, very unusual for me, I am actually measuring it, or trying to. I'm not good with numbers, so I do apologise if I don't tend to tell you numbers, amounts and so on. I am dyscalculic, so numbers are a complete mystery to me. They might as well be in Chinese or something. I've no idea. And I'm going to stir this up using something a bit chunkier than what I usually do. You know, I usually use my little swizzle sticks, don't I? But this time I shall be using a proper silicone stirrer. Yay, get me, eh? Anyway, you don't want to watch me stirring, do you? I will be putting links for everything down in the video description below as usual, of course. I don't know if this is enough resin. I've got 450, whatever those are. It doesn't say, it's 450. I think it's millilitres. Like I said, it's numbers. Anyway, yes, so I'll be stirring this up, getting it mixed up well. Can you see that? Here's a tip for any beginners out there. Can you see how milky that looks? It's got like a stringiness going on as I stir. Once that clears, then we know our resin is properly mixed. And if you make sure you stir down into the corners of your pot, preferably don't use wooden sticks unless you've dipped them in resin and it's cured before. Because if you've got a porous surface, which wood is, it does tend to introduce bubbles. But anyway, there we are. So scraping down into the corners, making sure we get it all mixed up properly. If you've got one of those battery-powered stirrer thingies, go ahead, use one of those. Some people warm their resin up first as well. It's quite warm in here today in my craft room because our heating is on. So I'm not worrying about that. And this resin tends to be quite thin anyway because it is a deep cast one. Anyway, I'll carry on stirring and I'll be back with you once it's done. Right, these are mixed up. You see that's all nice and clear now? Lovely, isn't it? I've mixed up an extra little pot here as well, look. It's the same. Just because I'm going to be separating it out to do colours anyway. So I thought, well, I'm not sure I've got enough even now. It's a big pot. So yeah, anyway, all in all, I ended up mixing up an extra pot. Now I've got some colours, and I've decided I will go for a bit of red in this one after all. So my main colours are going to be Downpour, which is a slightly warmish dark grey. It's one of the Create and Bloom colours, which I am a bit obsessed with at the moment. Why isn't my camera focusing? Come on, camera, you can do it. There we are. Downpour, that one's called. What a lovely colour. And then we have got Cherry, Sweet Cherry, again from Create and Bloom. Now I know that's going to come out like a nice bright deep red, yeah, cherry red. And then we've got Supreme White, which is, you can see how long I've had this pot. Look at the state of it. These pots of pigment paste, they just last forever. And this one, I bet I've had it over a year and I use a lot. Anyway, that's the colours we'll be using. So that's white, and that is from Just For You Online UK. What I want to do is end up with the majority of this white, then add some of the red and the grey. Now, this does mean that I could let each layer cure rather than let them blend. But I thought, first of all, we will do that with the next one, shall we? Yeah. But for this one, I thought we'll just let them, they will blend a bit, especially as it's the deep cast resin, which is less viscous. So the colours will mix and blend a bit, but we'll just see what that looks like. I think it might be quite nice. So I'm going to do one of these little pots in with the grey, the Downpour, which I haven't even opened yet, look, which is hard to do with your gloves on. I'll get the rest of that off properly later. Yeah, so I thought we'd have just a lot of white, bit of Downpour and a bit of cherry. So here's the Downpour. I'm going to give it a little bit of a stir. Now, because it's a pigment paste, you don't need very much. That's going to be way more than enough. I do want it to be opaque. So, yeah, if you want to watch how this happens. Let's see if that's enough to make that big cup opaque. I think it might be. But that's a lot of resin to be mixing it in with. So you can see you don't need very much, especially if you're going to want to leave it that little bit translucent. That looks absolutely bang on. That is pretty much opaque. So just going to make sure that's really well stirred in. And we will move on to our cherry. I'll give it another stir before I pour it anyway. So you can see it does settle when it's been stood for a bit. And it's a little while since I've used this one. So you just need to give it a little stir first. You see what I mean? It's a really deep cherry. And again, let's see if that is the right sort of colour. Do I need to add a bit of actual bright red? That's rather subtle, don't you? It's not. Oh, isn't that nice? Do I want it brighter? I don't think I do, actually. Because, of course, you can mix your colours. There'd be no harm in me putting a bit of, like, flame red in with that as well. But I think that's spot on. See why it's called Sweet Cherry, can't you? And then our white, which will be the big pot. Pigment pastes from Just For You Online are even more thick. Look how thick that is. There we go. I think that is now. That's opaque, isn't it? Yes, we're going to be doing, I think, the same colours. We'll keep them the same colours so that they coordinate. And but two different techniques. We will go for the, oh, I'm covered in it now. Yeah, the wait for it to cure, tip the pot around, do like proper defined layers of colour, and we'll do this one. The only thing is, because, as I said, because it's a deep cast resin, it will be more runny. It's thinner, less viscous, whatever fancy term you want to use for it. And that does mean that the colours will merge more. Because normally what I would do is let the colours kind of cure up a bit. Let them thicken. And then put them in. However, because we are working with a deep pour, I'd probably have to leave them like, oh, I don't know, 12 hours at least. Which I don't really want to do. So we're just going to do it and see what happens. Now, I've not actually tried this with a deep pour, so let's fingers crossed, eh? But what I'm going to do is just pour it down the sides like so and go round. I may have put too much of the white because that is more full than I intended. This is just going to be, well, I would say it's going to be the base, but it's not, is it, that's coloured? It's going to be... because that red will go down into the white. Having said that, I've gone white first because white pigment's heavy and tends to sink. So it might be that this red and the grey don't sink as much as I think they're going to. And the grey, I'm just going to pour it all in one side. And we'll just see what happens. Now, this isn't quite full, is it? I could have used all of that red. So I might pour the rest of the red in and maybe pour some more of the white in. I've got a bit of the white left too. Just pour it in like so. And then, as I said, the white tends to sink, so why not go through this now with some of the white and see if it pushes the red and the grey down. Yeah, I am making this up as I go along. But what this does tell me is next time, a bit less of the white, a bit more of the colours. And we'll be bang on, won't we? So just mixing up a bit more of the white. And I've just come over all funny, and I can't cope with things that haven't got sparkle. So I don't actually know whether this is going to make its way down through that lot and be at all visible, but just in case it does, I'm going to put a bit of super sparkle white in with the white. So here we go. Be nice if we end up with just like a vein of the white that's a bit sparkly, isn't it? Just a bit. See? Yeah, you can barely see it, can you? Let's put a bit more. So let's get a bit gung-ho about this. This is the 80 mesh super sparkle white, by the way, which is more kind of glittery. They're chunkier. It's a chunkier grain of the mica. So, just chucking that in the middle. Be interesting to see what that does. But we're still not full. We're still not full. So I'm going to mix a bit more. Anyway, I'm going to top this up. I'm just going to add some more of this. And I will see you for the demold. And then we'll move on to try the other technique. So I'll see you later. Right, it's been 3 days. I don't know if it needed quite the 3 days. But anyway, let's see if we can demold it. First problem we've got is I need to get a... look, need a little spanner. And... 2 little spanners or some pliers. Spanners would be better, wouldn't it? Okay, so we took those out. To be honest, it did need a pair of pliers to hold on to them. It was a bit faffy. What I might do, the inside bit, that bit just popped out. So I might sellotape these to the inside of here so I don't lose them. And in future, I'll probably just use bulldog clips. Because although that's a good idea and that's going to be really solid. And if you're going to need to move it while it's curing, those would be brilliant. It's a bit more faff than I like. For what I'm doing with it anyway. But blimey, isn't that a belt and braces kind of mould? Right, let's see how easy this is to demold. And I can see that the mould is satin finish. I'm not sure I'm liking this actually, but that's purely down to my colour choices. It's probably not appropriate. Let's see. I don't know. Now I've got it out. Oh look. This is interesting. How to get pot moulds out, by the way. Twist. Because they vacuum themselves in, don't they? Doink! Oh, that's nice. That bit of sparkle I put in seems to have settled itself down there. Didn't do much else, did it? There we are. Actually, I like that. I've got a rough edge round here, as is fairly inevitable. So I shall be going around that with a nail file or something. Actually, I know what I've got. I've got a nail drill and I've got a sanding doobry on the end of it. Let's try that. It's just a little cheap battery-powered one. Oh, yeah, that's good. First time I've tried using it for this sort of thing. I can't remember where I got this nail drill from. I know it came with a load of different heads and stuff. Might have been AliExpress. I'll see if I can find a link because this is useful, isn't it? Battery rechargeable one. And it does come with these little sanding heads, which is kind of good, isn't it? Of course, you could just go around this with the deburring tool. Or a regular nail file. I might finish it with a regular nail file, in fact. Yeah, there we are. Better already. Well, you know what? I rather like that. I say it wasn't the colours I was intending, but I think I'll do the other one in the same colours just so that they coordinate. But I rather like that blendy marbly effect. It's interesting, isn't it? I like it. And I like how I've got this funny effect around the top here, which looks like it's all bubbles. It isn't. That is actually just the way that the colours have gone. Nice, isn't it? I'll take you some photos of these with the plants in them later. I've got to repot the plants first. Right, let's fill up the next one. Now, let's see if we can make another one doing that tilting technique that I promised you. So we're going to put these back round it, and I am going to try, other than those screws, because they were a bit of a pain to pull out, I'm going to try bulldog clips, like a lot of my other frame type things go together with. So let's take that out first. Yeah, I think bulldog clips are going to do that, so let's give it a go. Here's one, just little ones. I think for using resin, that will be enough. If I was going to be doing cement and things, you know, actual like garden cement, then I think I would be going back to putting the little screws back in. Anyway, there we are. That's all together. Right, now the reason these moulds work quite well for the tipping method is because it's got the frame and it will hold its shape. And especially having that centerpiece as well, it will mean that if I tip this to one side when it's part full of resin, it won't all go bloop, and you know, the whole mould distort. So what we're going to do is tip this to one side a bit, and we are going to get a resin mixed up. And because we're not going so deep, I think I'll just go with my normal Apex high gloss rather than the deep cast, because we're going to be doing it in 3 layers. So here we go then. Let's get it tipped up first of all. And I've got to decide how high I want it tipped. And I think it wants to be about like that. So what I'm going to do is find myself a spare mould and put under it. What about this little guy? More? Oh yeah. And that's fairly stable as well. So we're going to work at that angle. So if I can bring you down here, you can just see how much that is tipped up. Okay. Right, let's get the resin mixed up. So our first lot will be the white. And we're going to mix the resin up. So I've gone just for I've gone for my regular Apex high gloss. Because we're going to be doing it in layers, I don't think we're going to have the sort of volume that necessitates using deep cast. To be honest though, I mean, I would like to use deep cast on this mould because it's so big and chunky. I think the extra cure time, the fact that it's less viscous, it's really good for releasing any bubbles and settling and the colour blending and all that sort of thing. However, let's see if we can just use a regular 1-to-1 for this particular method. Now, as always, I'm stirring way too fast. This isn't sped up. This is really how badly I stir. Feel free to do it properly. Obviously, normally, for the benefit of beginners, stir slowly like that, scraping around the edges, and do that for a good couple of minutes. I tend to stir too fast and just hope the bubbles will come out, which, to be fair, with this resin, it usually does. Right, and we're going to mix in our colour, and I think we went wet, white, grey, red, didn't we, last time? So let's go in the same order again. Obviously, I've only got a small amount mixed up. Might not be enough, we'll see, because I want to have quite a bit of colour. Because we're only going to be putting like a layer at the bottom with this first pour. Then I'm going to let it cure up, put in the next layer, and so on. Now, it won't need to cure completely. What time is it? It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon now. I would say by, what could we say, about 7 o'clock-ish. It should have firmed up enough if I really want to put in the next layer, which I might do. I don't know. Might leave it till about 8 o'clock this evening. I usually leave high gloss overnight to cure, especially as it's obviously far too big to go in my curing machine. Even my big curing machine, I don't think it'll go in. I think I'm just going to add a little bit more. And we'll go for a little bit more of the white. Because it's a pigment paste, as before, it is going pretty opaque, but I want it to be really, really opaque. So let's just put a little bit more to be on the safe side. Funny, isn't it? Usually you want your resin to all be lovely and clear. I took the first one downstairs to put my plant in it, which I will show the plants later. They're a bit special. And I showed it to Mark, and he just sort of kind of looked at it and frowned, and I thought, what's the matter? And he said he just couldn't believe that, it's hard to believe that it was just resin. Yeah, amazing, isn't it? I think the fact that this is such a big, chunky and matte finish mould as well, that makes a difference. You could kind of look at it and think, what the hell is that made of? It's so substantial. Right, here we go. And I've managed to get white on the bottom, which I don't want, so let's get that off. I don't know what that mark is. Oh, it's come off. There we are. So we're just going to pour this in and hope that it all runs down into the bottom without trapping any bubbles. Now obviously it'll be all down the side here. If it doesn't run down on its own, I'll show you what to do about that in a moment. Let all of this run out. Let's try not to get it on the middle. Well, it should just run down anyway. That looks like that's going to be enough. It's just, I didn't want it to quite meet up around this side. I don't know, might go a bit more. Okay, so let me just bring you down here a minute. So if you can you see how the white is actually, trying to get the right camera angle here. Oh, there we go. The white's actually met up around the other side. So I'm going to have a lip of white all the way around the top. And so this bit here, this is all I'm going to do just to get that off, is just get a little silicone tool. like this and push it down. It should run down on its own to a great extent anyway, but you know, just to be sure, just push it on down. And the same with the centre here. Not that that matters too much because you're not going to see the inside. That's where your plant's going to be. So yeah, I've just pushed down what I can, and then the rest we're just going to wipe off. Actually, this pot's so big, I can probably get down in there with a wipe as well. Probably. Yeah, I can't get most of the way down. So I'm just going to give this a bit of a tap just to see if we can make sure we got no bubbles down there. So give it a bash and leave it. There we go. And I'll see you for the next layer in a few hours when that layer has cured. Right, so that has firmed up. It's been about 8 hours, so I wouldn't want to demold it. It'd probably still be bendy, but it is firm and it's going nowhere. So, yeah, that's just a good time to go in with another layer. So I'm mixing up Downpour. So it is all the same colours as we used for the other one. And that should be okay now. So what we're going to do, as you can see, it's tipped that way at the moment. What we can do, basically, is tip it the other way, like that. It's about the same sort of angle, trying to get it roughly the same. And we're going to pour this in. So you can probably guess what's going to happen with the red layer, can't you? Depends how full this makes it, actually. If I think it's going to need yet another layer or not, as to whether I do the tip again or whether I leave it flat, or yeah, kind of have to see how it goes. Now, I do want this to meet up round that side, and it isn't. So I am going to need, it's trying to, but it's not quite there. So I'm going to mix a bit more up, but you can see where I'm going. I'm just going to mix it so it covers all the white round here. Can you see? You can still see the white. Oops, try and get the camera in. Yeah, I want that to meet up. So I'm going to just make some more up and put it in until that meets up. Kind of want the grey to be the main colour, I think. I mean, I suppose it would make sense to make like kind of try and have exactly equal amounts of each colour. Would give it a nice balance, but I'm not that bothered. Right, so just going to pour this last bit in and see where that takes it up to. I can already see that's met up at the back. I'm just wanting to see as well how much space there is left here. Do I want a bit more grey again to balance the colours? I'm not sure. We'll see. When this is cured, I'll make a decision. Either I will be doing a thinnish layer of the red with it tipped the other way, or I'll be settling it down flat and just filling it up with the red. Just trying to picture what it's going to look like, really. So, do a little bit of a clean up again. Now, as this is near the top, I can actually just get in with my finger and clean that up. There we go. Right, I'll see you again when this has mostly cured. Still hasn't met up around the back. I'm going to do a bit more. I'm going to keep going. I thought it had. And it hasn't. Actually, now I've realised that it hasn't quite met up around the back, which I do want it to, obviously. I think that by the time I put this in and it does meet up around the back, it'll leave me with a layer that will just be the red. So the last one can go flat, I think. That's what it's looking like at the moment. Right, there we are. It actually has met up around the back now. We're going to give it a little bit of a shake and a shimmy again and see if, try and minimise those bubbles. And then I'll see you in a few more hours. Actually, that'll be the middle of the night, so I'll probably see you in the morning. See you later. Right, as you can see, well and truly cured. Oops. The inside bit keeps coming off. And that to me looks like it's full enough to just do the whole rest of it with the cherry, sweet cherry. So, going to mix that up, chuck it in. Don't know how much I'm going to need. Kind of hard to know when it's on a bit of a slope, but anyway, we'll get some resin ready. Going to get this all mixed up. So as you can see, this is well and truly cured. It's at a nice jaunty angle in the pot, and I think that's going to be okay to just go straight in with the sweet cherry. So I've got some resin mixing up here. I'm going to use probably too much pigment. This is probably way more than I need, but well, I do want it nice and solid. I'm going to mix up just a bit more to be on the safe side because I am not at all sure that that is going to be enough. Right, let's see how far that gets us, because of course it's got to cover over all this as well. Nowhere near enough. Right, I'm just going to keep mixing it, pouring it in till it's up to the top. You don't need to watch that, do you? So I will see you for the demold in a few hours' time. Okay, I really was pushing my luck with this depth of resin. It cured awfully fast. Let's hope it's okay. Right, let's get the inside out. And I've already taken the clamps off. So there we go with that. And right, let's see what we've got. I'm going to loosen that all off and roll it down, which is quite hard work because it is big. Oh, I'm liking the look of this already. Okay, let's pull it up and let's twist. Oh, well, it's looking fab, isn't it? But I don't like the feel of this. I wonder if that's flash cured and melted itself onto the silicone. Gosh, it's very hot. Yeah, I think it has. I might have wrecked the mould. So, I'm having a bit of trouble getting this out of the pot because, yeah, I think it overheated. That was too much. I think it's flash cured and the mould stuck to it. So, I'm going to go and have a bit of a fight with it downstairs. But let's fold that in for a minute. And look at that. I didn't get the perfect clean line that I'd hoped for because I obviously didn't clean off where the resin came up the sides. But I think it's got rather a nice organic look to it. I guess I could sand it. But I think I like it as it is. It's rather nice, isn't it? Right, I'll get that sorted. And so if anybody gets this mould, even if you're doing this trick, do use your deep cast. That was obviously a step too far and I think I've wrecked my mould. We shall see. Anyway, I'll get it out and we'll get the plant in it and I'll show you my precious plants in their new pots. Okay, so there it is, it's done. Now, I was tempted to sand the outside so that I'd get more of a perfect clean line because this will just be on the surface where it's where I went a bit wrong and I got a bit of the colour where I didn't want to. But you know what? I rather like it that way. I think it gives it more of a handmade feel. So I'm going to leave it like it, I think. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope this video was of use and has given you a couple of ideas anyway. I would say if you get this mould, do go for the deep cast resin. So, because even doing it in these 3 layers, it made it really difficult to demold. I think it was verging on a flash cure. So I would say go for a deep cast resin, even if you're letting layers cure in between. Right, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. There's some more videos like this coming up next, so just take a look at what YouTube suggests at the top of the screen here shortly. And I'll finish off with some pictures of my lovely special plants in this pot. Thank you for watching, everyone, and you know where the subscribe button is. It's down there, and subscribing is free. Take care.